Hey, good morning, y'all. This is our second video and the second part of this lesson around annotation strategies. So we went through part one last time, and we went through how to annotate to strengthen our initial comprehension. And today we're going to pick up with part two. And so if we think of annotation strategies as ways we can understand what we read better, that first layer of understanding is just, do we understand the story? Can we picture it? But now we're going to get into the author's technique. So layer two, or a second way we can look at a story and annotate a story, is through the lens of identifying literary elements. So in other words, identifying the techniques that an author uses to put the story together. So I have this passage from Long Way Down again. The sadness is just so hard to explain. Imagine someone, a stranger, got you strapped down, shoves a pair of pliers in your mouth, grabs a tooth, one of the big ones, rips it out. Imagine the pounding in your head, pressure pushing through your ears, blood pooling. But the worst part is the constant slipping of your tongue into the empty space where you know a tooth's supposed to be, but ain't no more. And so literary elements are techniques that authors use. You've learned about them in middle school. Things like imagery is a literary element. Things like alliteration is a literary element. Things like metaphor is a literary element. A literary element, in other words, is a technique that an author uses to put their story together, to create some kind of effect for the reader. So that's what a literary element is. And these are some examples. And so once you kind of identify, just very simply by highlighting what the literary elements are, the next layer or strategy we can use to interpret them or annotate for them is to ask ourselves, once we've identified the literary element, how do they fit together? What is the effect that the author is going for? Okay, so how do they fit together? Let's look at the example. So I have the passages here, my example of imagery, my example of metaphor from this Long Way Down passage. How do they fit together? The way I see it, the imagery and the metaphor, they work together to paint the picture of Will's sadness, because he's not really talking about teeth. He's talking about his missing brother. And so the effect that the author is going for, the author wants us to empathize with Will. We have to understand the pain he's in, which is going to help us understand his choices later in the book. When he chooses to grab a gun and go shoot Riggs, if we don't understand that Will's in a lot of pain, we're not going to understand why he wants revenge. So the author needs us to empathize with Will, which is why they use imagery and metaphor to help communicate his sadness to us. And that's what I'm asking you to do in our practice activity today. We'll handle layer 4 another day. For the practice activity, you have a copy of the story Bread that you put in your binder. I put the practice directions on our Google Classroom so you can look at it on your computer. All I need you to do is use these key definitions to help you annotate your copy of Bread, pick 3 colors, and use a color to mark up imagery, a second color to mark up rhetorical questions, and a third color to mark up point of view. Imagery, rhetorical question, and point of view are the 3 elements that we're going to be discussing or looking for as we annotate the story. So if you have questions, let me know. And other than that, good luck.